Hi, Saints. Welcome back to another Monday Mentor from beautiful Southern California. I'm going to invite you to take a walk with me again. I've been doing a lot of thinking in the past several weeks because of COVID and just some life situations as I've been preparing for the messages here at Lambs about just struggle and difficulty, wilderness wanderings, if you will. And, I have a little saying that goes something like this. The trial is the trail. The problem is the pathway. The obstacle is the stepping stone to the future that lies before you. I get that idea from a scheme, if you will, that Luke sort of lays out for us in his gospel in chapter 4, where it says in verse 1 that Jesus, full of the Spirit, returned from the Jordan and then was led by the Spirit. I'm just going to say that again. Jesus, full of the Spirit, returned from the Jordan, then was led by the Spirit into the wilderness for 40 days. Powerful words that Jesus, full of the Spirit, then being led by the Spirit into the wilderness. You and I tend to, let me just say me then, me. I tend to want to avoid the wilderness. It's not my favorite place. So you know the old adage, the cute little saying that goes something like this: you're either going into the wilderness, coming out of the wilderness, or you're in the wilderness. And it becomes a place of great disdain for us. Now, it is not a fun place, if you will, not a place that you and I look forward to going. But Luke 4, back to Luke 4. It says, Jesus, full of the Spirit, returned from the Jordan, led by the Spirit. And then in verse 14, it says these powerful words. Jesus then comes out of the wilderness, if you will. It says he returns now in the power of the Spirit. Something happens in the wilderness that causes sons and daughters to move from being full of the Spirit to now being in the power of the Spirit. The wilderness is the place of great scarcity and dryness, where you and I learn to find God's abundance, and the water, the living water, satisfies the brokenness of our souls in a way that nothing else ever will. The wilderness it's a place where God fashions his sons and daughters on the crucible of life, and he expands the heart capacity of his sons and daughters so that you and I might run in the fullness of his commandments, of his will, and live in the power and the authority of our God in the Spirit. The wilderness is the place that you and I grow. It is the place where God obviously takes Israel and gets them out of Egypt. But wilderness isn't a place where it's just about the deliverance. Wilderness is the place where Egypt, the ways of the world, the flesh stances, the heart, the woundedness, the things of death get taken out of us. The wilderness is the place where God fashions, again, his sons and daughters. I suspect you might be going into it, coming out of it, or you are smack dab in it. And COVID reminds us of the wilderness. I'm going to ask you on this day to consider embracing it. Embrace the wilderness. Oh, no, you don't throw a party. You throw a party on the mountaintop. See, Saints, you and I want to live on the mountaintop. Mountaintop is a place of celebration. There'll be a mountaintop one day called heaven that we're going to celebrate for an eternity. But we live in the valley. The valley is the place where goodness and mercy follow us. It's the place where we don't fear any evil. It's the place where God's grace is with us. It's in the valley that we learn to trust him, and the reality of his will and the fullness of his love and life begin to take place in us. We traverse up the side of these mountains. We scale them, and then we get to the mountaintop and we celebrate. You might be on one now. Celebrate. You might be going down into the valley again. Trust him. And may you understand that you walk all of this out in the fullness of the Spirit, led by the Spirit, so that you might come out of this thing in the power of the Spirit. I pray God blesses you today, and that in this season of scarcity, possibly for many of you, and dryness, that you taste God's abundance, his love, and the living waters of life heal your soul and satisfy you. The psalmist says he opens his hand and satisfies the desire of every living thing. May you be satisfied today in the core of your soul. God bless you, saints.